Hey guys, Trueaimz here once again today, bringing you some of the best PvP content I possibly can provide for you. But today, in this video, we will not be covering PvP content, but we are instead going to be covering what I feel like should be what hunters should go off of for PvP, containing, like, talent-wise, stat priorities, what you should reforge to, enchant, gem, etc., etc. But anyways, let's start with the talents. For your first level 15 talent, I prefer to use Narrow Escape. It is very effective against classes such as rogues and warriors, but warriors can intervene out of it, and I'm not sure, but I think rogues might be able to cloak out of it, but it is also, if you can get a rogue to use cloak very early on in a duel with a disengage, it's very useful to be able to scatter trap them, because if you scatter them, they could trinket, cloak, vanish to avoid your trap and then open on you again. Another very viable talent in this is post haste, which whenever you disengage, it increases your movement speed. This is good against a lot, except I don't really think it's very good with warriors using double time, because if they charge you at the beginning of the duel, you can disengage, and yes, you'll have that time, but warriors with double time can just charge you again, so it's not very good for them, which is why I recommend using Narrow Escape. Another really good class this is against is Paladins. This is very good for cutting Paladins, because as you know, or maybe you don't, Paladins get two-handed freedoms, which makes it so they cannot be affected by your Narrow Escape. I don't really, for PvP preferences, I don't really think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Chimera is good. It's more survivability if you use a Glyph of Liberation, which heals you for 5% of your health every time you disengage. But I don't really feel like it's a viable thing for PvP to be able to disengage sooner or deter quicker. I mean, the deterrence part of it could be useful, but it's all personal preference of mine to use Narrow Escape. Alright, in the next bracket, the level 30 bracket, I prefer to use Binding Shot, which is, for Binding Shot, what it does is anything stuck within 5 yards of it, if it moves, it will be stunned for 3 seconds in PvP. There's really not a whole lot this is bad against, except there can be a lot of ways to get out of this. Like, I've seen warriors actually just heroic leap right over the Binding Shot and pay no attention to it. I've seen rogues just cloak away from it. And all in all, it's actually very easy. Well, not very easy to miss, but just watch. You can cast it anywhere you want. So you can, so I want to hit that chicken. Oh, I missed. And it's basically wasted right there. But another good viable one in this tree is Wyvern Sting. You will see a lot of people use this in 3v3 arenas, because it is very good CC, except for the fact that the worst thing that could possibly go wrong is that you forget to switch in a 3v3 or 2v2 or 5v5, whatever you're doing, and a shaman can just Tremor Totem this off. It is basically a wasted CC, and you don't want that to happen. When I play BM a lot, as you can see, my primary spec is BM. That's what I originally was. That's what got me really interested in Hunters, being able to tame all those cool pets. I use Intimidation because BM, I thought, oh, I'm Beastmaster, which means Beast is going to do majority of the work. So I used Intimidation to put my targets in the longest CC chain I possibly could, while also sitting there trying to do the most damage I could. But I really edged away from that, because on target CC is good. Like, it'd be useful in duels, but I've never been beaten by a hunter using Intimidation. But like I said, this is all personal preference. It's just what I'm comfortable using. Okay, in the next tree I use Spirit Bond, which it's a passive ability that heals me for 3% of my health every 2 seconds, but in arenas it is cut down to half, so it is 1.5% of my health every 2 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot unless you're like you're exceptionally good at kiting. Like, say you're in Tovia Arena with those giant pillars, and you just have ice traps all over it. If you don't know, ice trap reduces the movement speed of the enemy by 50% in a certain area. I don't know how big the area. I think it's 10 yards. It says. Um, it's very useful. It can be. If you're kiting, you can actually kite back up to full while the enemy just sits there at 40% or so and come back and win. I think it's perfect for clutching and everything. If you have a healer, it is another viable talent for this tree is Aspect of the Iron Hawk. It's basically the same as Aspect of the Hawk, except in Aspect of the Iron Hawk, you take 10% less damage, and you can only have one aspect up at all times, as you can read, and if you're a hunter, you know this. If you're not a hunter, you're never going to see a hunter with multiple aspects on, unless one's like Aspect of the Hawk, or Iron Hawk, and Aspect of the Pack from a different hunter. That's really the only time you're going to see a different aspect on. But anyway, this is another viable uh, another viable talent you could have at this tree. I do not recommend Exhilaration at all. It is nothing over time, nothing to really benefit you. I don't know how this would work in PvE. It might be good for, I don't know, maybe you're on a raid boss and he almost one-hits everybody and you just pop that, and oh, suddenly the healers don't have to waste their mana on you. I don't know. I don't recommend it at all for PvP. For the next tree, in my beginning videos you'll see I was using Thrill of the Hunt, which has a 30% chance to reduce the focus cost of your next 3 arcane shots or multi-shots by 20. This is, I think, very good if you just like to sit there and do as much damage as you possibly can. Try and put out as much pressure, be as very, very offensive as you can. If I had to choose, I would probably still main this because I'm using Fervor, which instantly restores 50 focus to you and your pet, and additionally an additional 50 focus over 10 seconds. This is very good. Say you're trying to be very offensive for 1 second, you pop that, you pop crows, you do all of the offense you can. It's very good for bursty situations where you have to just go and put out as much offensive pressure as you possibly can. If you're one of those people that sit there and you like to pop Stampede and Dire Beast, and you like to sit there with your BM and you pop Bestial Wrath, you're just trying to do as much pet damage as you can, I guess you could go Dire Beast. I honestly do not recommend this for PvP at all. Yes, it's an extra pet to sit there and put more pressure, but it really doesn't help at all. I mean, it restores focus every time it hits, but it could easily be CC'd or killed right on the spot, so it's basically gone after that. I do not recommend this at all. The next set of talents, level 75 talents, I usually, in my beginning videos, I ran Blink Strike because I was just so used to it from BM. It did a lot of damage. But I'm starting to edge towards Murder of Crows because after I discovered what Murder of Crows did, it's just basically like a second Serpent Sting just sitting there, and it applies tons of pressure. I haven't seen a rogue cloak it off yet, but I've been using it for such a short time, I don't really know to the full extent how people can get it off them. But really what it is it is a 2-minute cooldown, except it's 60-second cooldown if it's used below 20% health, which I don't really like to use it if it's below 20% health, because I like to use it for, I'm trying to sit there and put out the most damage. But anyways, it'll sit there, it'll hit from, I've seen it hit anywhere from low 8,000s to high 15,000s on my burst. I forgot, oh no, I didn't forget. Anyway, Lynx Rush or Linux Rush, I honestly don't know how to pronounce that. It is a damage over time bleed. I experimented with this a little bit. It did okay damage, but I don't really recommend it for high rated 2s or 3s because it's just so easy to avoid. If you pop that, your pet can honestly be CC'd, so your Lynx Rush is just wasted. It can, the pet will it doesn't focus one target when it does this. If there's more than one target around, it'll just put bleeds on every target around, which isn't good for trying to focus. It could be good for like what Affliction Warlocks do. They just try and spread their diseases everywhere to get as much pressure out on the healers as they can, or maybe not even healers if you're running dual DPS and he's just trying to burn you guys down. I guess that could be okay. I would experiment with this one yourself, guys. I just use either blink strikes or crows for a personal preference to try and put out as much damage as I can. The next one in the last bracket, glaive toss. I feel like this one is hands down the best. I love glaive toss. When you shoot it, it does damage on the way to everybody and on the way back to everybody. It reduces their movement speed, so it's great for kiting. It disarms. I mean, not disarms them. You're able to use it while you're disarmed. You can still put out damage while you're disarmed. It's great. It's honestly the best one for this talent for PvP, anyways. I tried multiple times on the PTR power shot. It does a lot of damage, but to have to sit there for almost 2 seconds, as you can see, it is a lot to sacrifice for a lot of damage. You could be almost a half health within the 2 seconds if you're just gonna sit there and try and get it out. It is okay. I would recommend trying to work with this one yourself. Power shot could be viable on casters. It will knock them back when you hit them. And it does, as you can see, 600% weapon damage to the target and 300% weapon damage to all targets in between you and the target, which could be pretty okay. It's not a huge focus cost. You can use it. It has a short cooldown. It has a max range for ranged. Uh, the next talent in the last bracket is Barrage. I honestly do not recommend this at all. It might be good for PvE. I don't recommend it for PvP at all. It could sit there and it put out. It's like Link's Rush. It does damage to everything around. It does, as you can see, it does 640% of weapon damage to the target and average of 320% weapon damage to each target in front of you. It is usable while moving, as you can see. It can be good for very, very few situations. But anyways, I would also run this as a personal preference of glaive toss. I know a lot of other hunters would also call glaive toss the best. But anyway, let's get over to stat priorities. So the main stat priority you're going to have as a hunter is obviously agility. It increases your attack power and your crit chance. And as I will scroll over all my gear so you can see what I have reforged. The main thing you want to have reforged as a hunter is you want to try and get as much crit as you possibly can. That's where you're going to see in some of my videos, you'll see huge Chimera shots, like 120Ks, 130Ks. That is all possible from the amount of crit I have. You're going to see I also have haste when I can't get any more crit. You're going to want haste after crit. So the stat priority is agility and then haste. Agility and then crit and then haste. So crit is the most important talent of these in the range stats that you're going to want. Next is going to be haste. What crit does, what haste does is it basically just makes it so, one, your Serpent Sting actually procs faster, which few hunters know, and it makes you just flat out cast longer. As you're going to see, just ignore the agility, the mastery right there and there. As you know, I used to be a BM hunter, which increases the damage of your pet, and I was one of those scrubby nub BM hunters that sat there and let their pet do everything. Basically, what this all is going to tie into is I try and run my talents and stats for me to do the most possible damage I possibly can within my opener. I will be doing my opener in a separate video. So just a quick recap. For my personal preferences, I use Narrow Escape. It sticks the enemy to the ground for 8 seconds, which is great against a lot of classes. Binding Shot, which can also be used with Narrow Escape. If you Narrow Escape and then Binding Shot them, the second that they become unstuck from the ground, if they try and move, they'll instantly be stunned again. This is very useful against classes like Rogues, where if you Binding Shot them, you can also flare them in that Binding Shot, because a lot of the time Rogues will try and Smoke Bomb and try and get a re-stealth, so you're going to want to throw a flare down, and they will not be able to re-stealth in their Smoke Bomb. Spirit Bond for overtime healing, which can be very useful in arenas and just PvP in general. I personally run Fervor or Thrill the Hunt. If you don't remember, Thrill the Hunt, it gives you a 30% chance for your next 3 arcane shots or multi-shots to cost 20%, not 20%, 20 less focus. But Fervor, I run Fervor as of right now, which instantly restores 50 focus and restores 50 over 10 seconds. Murder of Crows or Blink Strikes. Blink Strikes increases, your pet will it'll teleport behind him. As you can see, I will cast it and he will, I don't even have it on right now. Rank 1 Hunter US. Anyways, he will teleport behind him. He'll do 50% increased damage for the first hit he does. Well, the first basic attack. Murder of Crows, like I said, it does a lot of damage for the amount of time it has and what it's supposed to do. It's really good for classes like Rogues or Mages to keep them from going invisible. And finally, Glaive Toss. As you can just see, it just tossed all those. It killed that squirrel. Poor squirrel. And it basically just makes it so if you're disarmed, you can still put out pressure, and it'll snare them. You can run away. I don't recommend it in PvP, but you can cheat a Master's Call and just get away from people if you can. But anyways, guys, this has been Trueaimz. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below. What do you think about my talent choices and stat choices? Maybe you could give me some tips or just tell me something I really do not know or something I left out. Anyways, guys, this has been Trueaimz. I'll see you in the next one with my Hunter rotation and semi-opener video. See you next time, guys.